Okay, hello everybody. Welcome. My name is Chris Salem. I'm an executive coach and a corporate advisor. We're going to be talking about extraordinary thinking creates extraordinary leaders. So, what does that mean? So, when you think about wherever you are in your business, in your life, you have to be asking yourself, are you where you would like to be? Is your company where you like it to be? Is your business unit where you like to be? Your family, whatever the case may be. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is the concept of extraordinary thinking. If we can learn to think differently, this will allow us to be different, which means being in the moment, how you show up in any situation, whether if it's to solve a challenge in your business, whether if you're presenting in front of a group of people, your clients, whether if you're leading a team meeting for your staff. It's learning how to think different, to show up to be different, and from that to become different, and then to do and have different, better results. So what I'm going to share with you today is that many times we don't realize how we think subconsciously could be impacting not only our level of confidence, but also impacting our self-esteem, how we make decisions, how we communicate with other people, how we follow through and take calculated risk. Now, again, it goes back to when I started earlier. Are you where you desire to be in your business? See, how you show up by thinking differently to do and have better results will reflect in how you lead in a more extraordinary way. So the first step that we have to look at is, how are you currently thinking right now? If that is not yielding the results that you seek, then we have to be able to look at what can we do to think differently. So how we can learn to think differently is learning how to be in the present moment. Why is it important to be in the present moment? See, it's in the present moment that we can learn how to control what we can and let go of what we cannot control. So let me tell you how we can control what we can. We can control our communication to ourselves, how we internally speak to ourselves, that inner champion versus your inner critic. It reflects how we communicate to other people. Are we speaking? Are we telling them something? Are we telling them how, when, or why to do something? Or are we sharing versus telling to empower them to draw their own conclusion? You're being more coming from a place of empowerment, not disempowering them, telling them how, when, or why to do something. You can control your behavior, how you show up in any given situation through your behavior. People observe what people do through their behavior and also what they say. How are you showing up in that area? Next is your attitude. What is your attitude? No matter what the given situation is, if you're going through a difficult time, you have a difficult challenge, what is your attitude with that? Is this something happening for you and your team or happening to you? Happening to you means that I have the victim hat on. I have excuses. Perhaps I'm operating in a codependent environment that I've created. So attitude has a big thing on that. It's your emotions. See, we can choose our emotions. We can't choose our thoughts. Our thoughts are just going to come and go, but we can choose how to react to them, to choose the ones that merit our attention and focus that will allow us to move the needle to whatever we're trying to accomplish. And finally, our course of action. Here's what we cannot control. We cannot control another person's communication, what they perceived, what you said, even if you paraphrase things. We can't control their behavior. We can't control their attitude, their emotions, or their course of action. We can't control what's happening in your industry, specifically in your business. We can't control COVID. We can't control the economy. But why do people tend to, deal with situations from a place of worry, stress, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed? It's because they're caught up in the things they cannot control. I'm going to share with you here how we can learn to think in the moment, that by doing so, we can then control the things that we can, focus and maximize that, and then let go of the things that we can't control. And as a result, it'll shift our thinking to trusting the process of doing that in the moment and letting the results be a byproduct of that. Think of it like a puzzle. It's taking the puzzle pieces that you have in your possession, in your control, and each day, each week, each month, new intelligence or puzzle pieces will come into your possession to connect them together. That's trusting the process of controlling what you can, letting go of what you can't, and letting the results be a byproduct of that. But see, when we're caught up in the control we can't control, that clouds our judgment. It clouds our decision making. It lowers our self-esteem and confidence. We don't take calculated risks. We don't follow through. We're busy but not productive. And as a result of that, these are the things that we get caught up in and leads to more stress and more worry. We're tied to expectations to outcomes. So what I'm sharing with you today is shifting your way of thinking away from expectations itself to outcomes, to bringing it into the moment and letting the results be a byproduct of what you do in the moment. So how do you go about thinking differently? How do we go about thinking differently to be different, to become different, to do different, and then have different and better results? What is the routine that you have each and every morning? What is that routine? So that routine is if you don't have a routine, or if you do, is it serving you? See, a routine is something that you do every day. It's like Kobe Bryant, before God rest his soul, before he passed. He was out at the basketball court every morning at 3:30 in the morning, focusing on the basics of the game. Now, this is something that you learn when you're growing up in elementary school, when you start to play basketball. He never abandoned that. He stayed true to the basics and maximized it each day. He did this to the day he died. And thus why he became one of the greatest basketball players to play the game. He would be out there shooting free throws. He would be out there shooting from the perimeter, doing layups, basic things that they teach you in grade school up through high school. The thing is, if you don't have a foundation, a personal foundation, it's not going to be able to change our course of action, how we communicate more effectively, use active listening, how we can take calculated risks, how we can empower people and trust people and delegate for people to take responsibility for their role and duties so that you can focus on your own, creating more interdependency versus codependency in any type of environment, whether if it's work, community, or at home. So it's having a routine. My routine is waking up at 4:15 every morning, making my bed, accomplishing a small task that allows me to focus on doing that. That will lead to accomplishing another small task in the moment, and another, and eventually bigger tasks. I meditate for 20 minutes a day. I started 22 years ago, 10 minutes a day. It took me 6 months to get into the rhythm of meditating. I had to use discipline every day of my life to white knuckle it because I couldn't get into a meditative state. But eventually I did, and the persistence paid off. And it was through that I got to the root cause of my limiting beliefs that have been affecting my self-esteem and confidence. It got me out of the problem into the solution. And I used that combination of meditation and journaling to do that. So meditation and journaling are also part of that routine. Writing down whatever comes to mind subconsciously into your conscious mind to see what's holding you back. Then it's working out. Now, I don't work out 7 days a week, but I do plank 7 days a week, but I work out 4 or 5 days a week. Eating a healthy breakfast, reading every day a chapter or two out of a book, and then reviewing my daily goals. It's something I do every day. I've been doing for 7 days, 365 days a year for the last 22 years. It's developing your routine, because when you do these things, it's not only going to affect your communication to control it, where you're more interdependent and being more assertive with people rather than passive and aggressive. Passive meaning that you please and enable others. That creates more codependency. Being aggressive, tied to expectations to outcomes. And then it's going to allow you to behave in an interdependent way. Leading by example, being the example, being resourceful rather than just doing for people. Doing for people everything for them is not going to help them grow. It's not going to help them to accept their role and responsibility to create more interdependency, to make a business grow, to make your team grow, to make your community grow, to make your family grow instilling higher levels of confidence in your children, in your workers, or any situation that this applies. This is going to impact your decision-making ability to be more confident and making swifter decisions. So when you have a routine that you do every day, just like you put 10,000 hours into anything, you're going to get better at it. And when you get better at it, this is going to impact everything that you can control. You're going to become a better leader because you're leading by example. People learn from what they observe in others. And when you can be a resource for them to do for themselves, they repeat the same thing for others to do the same. When we can create an interdependent environment, this is where we can begin to create a thriving culture for whatever situation that is, where people understand their role and duties in any given situation and can be responsible and accountable, where they can come together and do it at a bigger level. They are not dependent upon you. My success is not just dependent upon you. It's dependent upon that you own your role and duty, just like mine owning my role and duty for you. But it's learning how we can all think in the moment, trusting that process of each controlling what we can, leveraging our strengths, offsetting our weaknesses, knowing how to use systems and processes and resources to help us be more efficient, productive, and of course, profitable. Now, what I shared in this short period of time was just a little snapshot of how we can go about thinking differently, extraordinary thinking in the moment, using mindfulness through meditation, journaling, and having a daily routine that can dramatically not only get you out of the problem, the root cause to your limiting beliefs that are affecting your level of self-esteem and confidence, but to develop a solution that you can improve your communication, you can modify your behavior, you can become a better decision maker, take a calculated risk, and follow through with massive action and be the example for others. The best leaders are the ones that lead by example. They don't tell people how, when, or why to do something. They share through their example. They are a resource in coming from empathy, empowering people to do the same. So with that being said, I know we're near the end, and somebody says, if somebody wants to start with a new habit, what is the first one you recommend starting with? Thank you, Edwin. It is going to be meditation would be number one. Number one would be meditation. If you take anything away from today's session, meditation. But I can tell you, when you have a thought, I've done this and worked with many different organizations doing this, from law firms, CPA firms, to insurance agencies, to small to mid-sized corporations, and even Fortune 500 companies at the business unit level. This takes time. It's a process, but I can tell you the fruits of your efforts will pay dividends long term. Thank you so much, everybody, for the opportunity to serve. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to address here or even later through Michael. And it's a pleasure to be here to serve you today. Again, extraordinary thinking creates extraordinary leaders.